Hello everyone. In this video now, I'm going to talk about my interview experience, where I basically appeared for the interview for the role of AI scientist off campus. I talked about this thing, or I talked about my journey in the last video, that how I basically dealt with the on-campus placements rejection, and then basically cracked the first off-campus interview for the role of AI scientist. So now in this video, I am going to tell my interview experience, that uh, how many rounds of interviews were there and what kind of questions, and then my learnings, which I will tell you in the end. So watch the video till the end. You will get a lot of things, or a lot of real time experience from me. So if I talk about the interview rounds structure, so the interview basically consisted of three rounds, two technical rounds, and the third one was HR round. So I will start with the first round, and then I will keep going on. And in this video, I will tell you the questions asked, though I might not remember all questions asked, but I will try to put uh, all possible questions I could remember. Okay, and then in the end, I will tell you that what you can do or how you can prepare. Okay, so let us start with the first round of interview. So first round was basically about my resume. Okay, the projects I built. Okay, and it lasted for about 1 to 1.5 hours. Okay, approximately. So in that round, I was basically asked about. So basically, I was asked about everything in my resume. Okay, everything means the internship experience and then the project mainly. Okay, now so let us talk about everything one by one. So the first, basically, they discussed about my internship experience. So I interned at a basically AI consultancy. Okay, where I basically worked on some projects. Okay, especially the project based on RAG application in finance domain. Okay, so whatever I mentioned in my resume, they asked the question related to that. So they asked that what I did actually, and what was my exact contribution into the project. Okay, so they will ask this thing, right? You can't just write everything, okay, in that project. You have to be very specific, and you have to highlight that what actually you did in that project, what was your contribution. Okay, because the projects are generally very big, right? And that is always handled by a particular team. Okay, not a individual. Okay, so you need to be very clear about your role. Okay, and technical role especially, and what skills you use in that, and what you learned. Okay, and what challenges were there. So I worked on RAG application, or building the RAG application for a finance project. Okay, where I had to basically basically apply the RAG over the financial document and then feed it into the LLM. Okay, so yeah, so that's where they ask the questions mainly. Okay, of course they asked some things about RAG also, but they continued asking for RAG even in the end of the interview. So I will talk to you about it later. Okay, so now after interview experience, now they came to my project. So they asked me about my first project. Okay, and the first project was about a fine tuning a LLM model. Okay, and then I did the inference optimization in that, and that was also in finance domain. So basically, I curated my own data set, my own financial data set, and then I used that to fine tune a particular LLM model. Okay, from Hugging Face, of course, and then I did the inference optimization over that. Okay, I tried to reduce the latency. Okay, and I tried to optimize the output. Okay, I tried to optimize the cost. Okay, so all these things I did in that particular project, and then I deployed it. So now they ask. So basically, first of all, in every project, whatever you write, okay, you have to be aware of that thing. Okay, whatever technical term, don't just write and just to show off, right? You need to be clear about each and every point or word in the project. Okay, so of course, I put my link to the GitHub for that particular project. I also basically put a link to a detailed report of that project, and of course what challenges I face, everything. So they asked me the questions from the project only, like the questions were not straightforward. For example, if I basically I mentioned that I optimize the pre-fill and decode time by LLM, so they asked me that what these terms are about and how did you do that. Okay, they asked me how did you reduce the latency. Okay, and then I answered that. So I was very clear about my project, that what I did actually. Okay, I was thorough with the project, I studied it deeply, so I just answered those questions. Then they also asked me about the techniques I used for the optimization, like quantization, okay, and then basically prompt optimization, okay, all these things they asked me. Now, and one more important thing about my project, that I curated my own data set. So basically they were very interested in that, that how, because generally what learners do, they just take the data set from somewhere, okay, from some website or from some platform, and then they use that, okay. But I curated my own data set, my own financial data set, and then use that to fine tune. Okay, so because now that will add an extra step, right? I need to collect the data, I need to process it, I need to clean it. There were many things, right? So they asked about that, that how did you basically generate the data, and then how did you clean it and everything. And that was basically the special thing about that project. So I would also advise you that it is better if you, in at least one of the projects, you create your own data set, okay, just to basically use, okay, in your project or fine tune any LLM. Okay, so this was about the LLM project. Next, one of the projects was based on RAG. So in RAG now, they did not ask the basic question like what is RAG and what does it do, or what basically what is vector data. So they did not ask the straightforward questions like this. They asked about the RAG pipeline. First of all, they asked me to draw a complete RAG pipeline from end to end. Okay, so now what does it mean? So I need to know each and every step we use in RAG. And one more thing for the viewers, RAG is just not about feeding the data with prompt to LLM and then getting the answer. No, it is not only about this thing. RAG is very complex, and RAG has a lot of things to learn and basically apply. Okay, so I basically explained everything from first step to the last step. And in that, for example, if I say that, okay, RAG is about basically, first of all, we need to have the data set, and we need to extract the data set from any document. Okay, then we need to basically clean it. Okay, then we need to get the embeddings of that data set. Okay, then we need to index it in the vector database. So all these steps I basically told. Okay, one more thing, they won't tell you everything, right? They won't be very specific. Sometimes they will just say, suppose that, okay, tell me about the RAG pipeline. So now in that, you need to at least mention all possible strategies you can do in a RAG application building. For example, though you have not used it in your project, like you can say that I can use the query rewriting. Okay, I can use the basically the output re-ranking by using LLM as a judge. Okay, so there are many techniques. Okay, I can basically, in order to extract, or basically in order to chunk the data set, there are many chunking strategies also, so you can at least mention them, and then they can ask the follow-up questions if they want. Okay, so you can write all chunking strategies like recursive splitting or structural splitting. There are many things, right? Or it depends on the document or the data set. So all these things you need to mention if they ask a very broad question. Okay, then in that they ask some follow-up questions in the RAG pipeline. They ask about the metadata. They ask that exactly what happens in the vector database. See, generally we do, or we study any technique or any concept broadly sometimes. Okay, but you need to be very clear about each and every component of that thing. Okay, suppose if I talk about RAG only, then you have vector database, right? So generally we just basically see that, okay, vector databases store the data set with index and all, with indexing and all those things, right? But it is not only that. You need to be very clear that how does it do it. Okay, there are many indexing strategies also. Okay, so you need to be very careful about it. Okay, there are many indexing techniques. Okay, and they ask me about it. Okay, so you need to be very clear about each and every component of the system. Fine. Okay, so of course they were also testing the system design concept, okay, in this question, right? Now the next they asked, one of my projects was based on LoRa fine tuning. Okay, so they asked about fine tuning aspects. Okay, fine tuning is basically one of the most important topics you should, or you must build a project on. So LoRa fine tuning was about this. So they asked about fine tuning, they asked about LoRa. Now again, one more thing, LoRa, so basically here, if any learner studies LoRa fine tuning, he just does this thing, that okay, LoRa fine tuning is nothing but adding or basically training some adapters okay, or training, or if you just go a little bit deep, you will just say that okay, it is about training an extra metrics, okay, instead of updating the original parameter, something like this, okay. But that is not enough. That is the bookish definition, or that is very basically brief definition. But you need to understand the LoRa from the depth. Okay, you need to understand the LoRa from the mathematical perspective, that what does it do actually in math. You need to know the matrices here, right? You need to say that okay, we have a separate delta matrix which we update or which we train, okay. And then how basically what parameters affect the LoRa fine tuning results, okay, or the output. So that depends on the rank of the matrix and other factor, like there is one more parameter called alpha. So basically it is not, and then they can ask, okay, it happened with one of my interviews where I could not clear, that they asked LoRa fine tuning and they asked that what does it do exactly, okay, inside the architecture, okay, inside the base model architecture. So you need to be very clear about it, right? Don't just basically skim through the concept and that's it. No, you need to understand such concepts from the bottom only, okay. So that is important. So they will grill you on this, okay, that is for sure, if they are interested in very core AIML rule. So be careful about it. So they asked me about the rank of the matrix, how does it affect the basically the LoRa fine tuning, okay, all these things, okay, exactly what happens at the matrix level. So they asked me about all these things. So this interview lasted for about again 1 to 1.5 hour, okay, though it was supposed to be last only for 1 hour, but it got extended, okay, because they were just asking the questions, or they were just throwing the questions, okay, continuously. Now after this basically it was done, okay. Then I got the result for this round in 1 or 2 days. And then another second round of interview was scheduled, okay, and it was about coding round, okay. So again let us talk about the second round now. So second round basically was the coding round, and it was basically about again 1.5 hours approximately, okay. So in this, what they asked mainly, so first thing was the DSA, okay, that is non-negotiable. DSA is there, it will be there, okay. So for about 45 minutes, they gave me some DSA questions. Okay. So there were only two questions they gave. Yes, if you have an array, okay, and then if you basically break it down in two parts at any particular point, okay, that is unknown, okay, and then you replace both parts, okay, then now sort the array. So in this DSA phase, I told you about this, right, in one of my videos where I actually explained that how to handle such questions, or how to handle the DSA basically in the interview. So first thing, you need to understand the question very basics clearly. Okay, you can ask some questions that okay, what they exactly want. Okay, and if the interviewer is basically very interested, or uh, they are serious about the interview, or they are serious about you, okay, they will help you. They will always try to help you that okay, what you are thinking, what you want to do, and then they might also give you some ideas, okay, to execute. Okay, so first of all, don't panic in DSA round. Just be clear about the question, and then always start with the brute force approach, okay, and don't jump to the coding thing first. Basically make a logic, okay, and start with the brute force, and then improve the strategy or the technique gradually. And once you are basically clear, or once you have some idea that okay, this might work, then try to code, okay. So this is one of the things. Then I after that question, I was able to do that question, okay. I was able to code it also. Then next, basically they asked me some concepts like heapify, okay, building a heap and all those things, okay. And tree, some tree question was there. So basically this was the DSA thing. It took about 45 minutes. After that, they again got back to the machine learning and deep learning, transformer, all these things, okay. So they started asking me some questions about these things. So first, they asked me the questions from machine learning, or deep learning. So they asked me the questions like basically principal component analysis, curse of dimensionality, okay, techniques like regularization. Okay, so how does it happen basically? What are the types of regularization you have? Okay, and mathematically, okay, how does it work? That is important. Then they asked about the overfitting. Okay, what factors basically cause overfitting? All these things they asked. Now then they moved to the concepts like transformer, Okay, so they grilled me on the transformer architecture mainly, that what is happening inside it. Okay, especially they asked about multi-head attention, that how does it work, what happens inside that. Okay, then gradually they move to the basically encoder or decoder side. Okay, positional encoding. Okay, so basically, okay, again I am telling you, in transformer architecture it's very big. Transformer architecture is very big, and they are unlimited possible questions from that thing. Okay, and no matter how much you study transformer, there will always be some questions which you can't answer, or there will always be some challenge. Okay, though in this interview I was able to answer almost all questions in transformer architecture. Okay, but sometimes in some questions I took time, or I took multiple attempts. Okay, in one or two questions. So they basically asked all these things. Okay, some then after that they also asked, or they also discuss about BERT versus GPT. Okay, cross encoder. Okay, encoder decoder exact role. Okay, how the decoder works after encoder's output, how decoder works. Okay, so all these basically, so these are gen AI questions, right? So they ask about these things. Then after that they again got back to fine tuning a bit. Okay, that when do you fine tune? Okay, so here I want to tell you one thing, that whatever project you do, or whatever technique you apply in that project, always think why are you doing that. Okay, if you fine tune, suppose, okay, if you fine tune a LLM, okay, so first ask why I am fine tuning. So is it only for your resume or the job? And if you are in industry, what, or basically why would you do fine tuning? Okay, there are many other options. Okay, you can do RAG. Okay, fine tuning, or you can just ask LLM directly, right? So you should know that when do we do fine tuning. Okay, how much data set, or how big the data set should be to fine tune the LLM. Okay, so all these things you should have. So they asked me that, okay, what is the enough data set size basically for fine tuning. Okay, so that there is no single number, right? But you can just say that, okay, big data set, I said 10,000 rows you should have at least. Okay, so that's, so basically they will ask the follow up questions depending your previous answers, right? Sometimes they are not testing your knowledge, they just want to know that how much you can go, okay, in deep on your own, how much you can think, okay, how much you can explore. So now, so round two was done. Round three was just HR round. That was basically a little bit, that was light basically. Okay, they just asked me about my previous background and my education and previous experiences. My experience at IIT Kharagpur also. So all these basically conversations took place in that round of interview. So now, if I want to give you some learnings, okay, from these rounds of interview. So the first learning I would say is that if you build a project for your resume, okay, always think that what are you building exactly? Okay, what is the use case? Okay, and then why are you building it? Okay, or whatever techniques you are applying, why? Okay, why you are doing fine tuning? Why you are doing RAG? What are the other alternative options? Okay, then you need to think how you are doing it. Okay, each and every component of your project, each and every technical step, you should know that why you have taken it and how. That is very important. They will grill you on this. Okay, you sometimes many learners think that, okay, I have built a project and I myself have built it, so I know everything. But no, they will explore. Okay, they will basically make you go deep into that project, and they will basically ask many follow-up questions. Okay, okay, they, it is not only about the concept you used in the project. Okay, it is about that why you did not use that concept, what is the benefit of this. So you should be very careful or thorough about the project. Okay, I have faced this thing. Okay, when the interviews where I got rejected, I got stuck in one or two questions in my project, and only because of those one or two questions it was not done. Okay, so be careful about it. Okay, another thing is about the project only, that challenges, whatever challenges you face, okay, when you build the project, then only you should note it down, because after building the project you won't basically remember the challenges you face, whatever errors you are getting. Okay, whatever things which you found very challenging or difficult, okay, while building, note it down. Okay, and then that will help you in the revision for the interview. Okay, so that is your next thing. Next, frame your answers properly. Okay, I know that that what is PCA, okay, principal component analysis, what it is used for, okay, or what is overfitting, everything. That's fine, but keep a framed answer ready. I am not saying that exact bookish, but at least some terms, okay, because sometimes in interview what happens that you know the answer, but it's still you are not able to communicate that, and that is not a good impression. So always have some keywords or technical terms reserved for explanation of a particular concept. That is very important. That will help you in interview to get a good answer, okay, or whatever answer they expect. Okay, and so basically that will give the clarity that you know the things. Okay, you need to communicate that you know. Otherwise, how will the interviewer get the clarity about your understanding? Okay, so you need to be careful about it. Next is whenever you study any concept, again, don't just study it briefly, okay, or just the surface level understanding. That is not recommended. Why? Because suppose if you are studying the regularization, right? There are two, L1 and L2. Exactly, you should know what they do mathematically, why they work, okay, why these techniques work, what is the difference between L1 and L2, okay, why one technique is basically making the coefficient of the feature zero, and why another one is just minimizing it. So all these things you should know, okay, they will go in depth and check your understanding. Okay? Otherwise, everyone knows the surface level thing, but the only differentiator you can have is the deep understanding for any concept, be it easy or tough. So these are the learnings I would like you to take. Okay, there are many other cliche things which I have basically told in many videos, or others, okay, others have also told about them, but these are the things which I wanted to tell you. Okay, and the types of questions you can basically expect. Okay, so basically it is only about projects mainly, plus the conceptual understanding at every level. Right now, I will be continuing with the more interview videos because I have a lot to tell. Okay, in this video this is what I wanted to tell you. Okay, so if you have not subscribed to Concepts of AI for better clarity in the AI concepts and moving your career ahead in AI domain, so let us meet in the next video.